If you've ever scored an invite to a Filipino party, chances are you've crossed paths with lumpia. They're easy to make, extremely flavorful, and seriously addictive. And they get even better with the dipping sauce that takes everything over the top, which I'll show you how to make. But first, let's get into the filling. Sound good? Let's cook. I'm going to be using 2 pounds of ground pork, and of course you can absolutely grind it yourself from a pork shoulder or even use chicken. But sorry, pork is the best. Just saying. Okay, so transfer it over to a large bowl, and for everything else in the filling, my good friend Sam, who's Filipino, told me lumpia is going to vary a bit from house to house. So some of these next few ingredients are a bit subjective. Now for me, I like a little bit extra veg, and I like it finely minced, so the processor is about to be my best friend today. But first, we need to quickly prep them up. I'm going to peel and roughly chop 2 medium-sized carrots, then the same rough chop for 2 ribs of celery. Next up, I'm going to slice off the ends, cut in half, peel, and roughly chop 1/2 of a medium-sized red onion. Then it's going in a food processor with 5 garlic cloves. Okay, 6. At this stage, I'm going to peel a small 1-inch piece of ginger, and I'm tossing it into the processor as well. Now last but not least, for the veggies, I love cabbage and lumpia, so I'm going to cut a whole head in half, then in half again, and in half one more time, so 1/8 of a head of cabbage. Roughly chop it and throw it into the processor with everything else. Let's place on a lid and turn it to high or pulse on high to roughly mince everything. Then I usually stop and give this a scrape once or twice, and the smells from this already are everything. And yeah, don't worry too much about the exact sizes of the veg. A little more or a little less will not at all change the final outcome of our lumpia. And in no way possible is it overly appropriate to be precisely measuring in Filipino cuisine. It's just how I like it. You add enough until it's done. Okay, getting really close on being finished up, but first, let's get every last bit of the veg into the bowl with the ground pork. Now, I recently made videos for beefsteak and pancit, and one of the same comments I kept getting was, "Where's the MSG or bouillon?" Now, to me, this is optional, but for all you out there who wanted it, here you go. Gosh, I love slow-mo. Just about 1/4 and up to a 1/2 teaspoon will do. Then next up, add in 2 large eggs, followed with 1 teaspoon of granulated sugar, 2 teaspoons of coarse salt, 1.5 teaspoons of ground pepper, and finally 3 tablespoons of Filipino soy sauce, which is also known as toyo. Now you can pick this up from an Asian market or just order it online. The closest you'll get to this is a dark soy sauce, however, regular soy sauce or tamari will work just fine. Make it easy and use what you've got on hand. Now get in there and mix everything together until it's been thoroughly combined. And how do we know it's seasoned up? We taste it. So take a small piece and fry it up in a small pan with a bit of oil and see where you're at. That's so good already. Now the best way to get this filling into the wrappers is to bag it up using a pastry bag. Hold it in one hand and stuff it up using a rubber spatula in the other hand. Or even in a Ziploc bag with one of the corners snipped will also work perfectly. We're getting so close to stuffing these up, but first let's break out what we plan to wrap up everything in. I picked up some lumpia wrappers from a local Filipino Asian market, and I think they were about $3 to $4 for 30. There are quite a few options in brands and sizes, but if you've got no way of getting these, some spring roll rice wraps can work, or even wonton wrappers, although those fellas will make your lumpia on the smaller side. Regardless, there are options. Or if you're completely looking to go all homemade, you can absolutely make it yourself, and if you want, you can grab my recipe on my website at the link in the top right corner. Now at this point, it's time to get rolling. But you will need to separate the store-bought wrappers one by one, which honestly takes less than 5 minutes. No sweat, you've got this. And if you're looking to stretch the wrappers, cut them in half from corner to corner. Once they're done, let's cut off the end of our filling bag to create about a 3/4 to 1-inch hole, and then to make sure they stay closed up, I'm going to whisk 1 large egg with 1 tablespoon of water, and I'll show you how to use this homemade glue in a second. But first, grab 1 sheet of the lumpia wrappers and place it down with a corner facing you. Then, grab your piping bag, and about 2 to 3 inches up from that corner, pipe out about a 4 to 5 inch long filling piece. Then at this point, fold the corner just over the filling, and then you want to carefully fold in each side, ensuring to keep everything nice and tight.
Like a friggin' gordita.
Thanks, Ricky Bobby. Okay, roll everything forward, stopping about 2 to 3 inches shy, then using your fingers or pastry brush, get some of that egg wash and rub it on the top corner piece. This will help keep everything closed in when frying. Finish rolling it up just like this, and I like to place them on a sheet tray lined with parchment paper, then lather, rinse, and repeat. Sorry, I had to. And dude, I'm getting old. You should get right around 50 total lumpia with this recipe, but about halfway throughout the process is when I start to heat up my frying oil. So in a large 4 to 5 quart pot, does not matter what kind, I'm going to fill it about halfway with a neutral flavored oil. And if you want to be a little extra, add in some pork lard. You can thank me later. We want to heat this up to 350 degrees F. This way it's good to go when I'm done rolling. And once all the lumpia are rolled, now is when you would want to store some if you don't plan to cook them all, so before frying. Spread them out on a sheet tray, pop them in the freezer for about an hour, and then bag them, label them, and freeze them for another day. Okay, it is time to cook. Yeah. We're at 350 degrees, so I'm going to add the lumpia 6 to 7 at a time. 6, 7. Yeah, sorry, I've got a Gen Zer teaching me a lot of brain rot. But seriously, the main reason I cook at this temp is because those cold lumpia will drop the temp about 25 degrees or so, which is really where I want to be, around 325 degrees F when frying. Little techniques like this just go a long way to making great food. These will roughly take 4.5 to 5 minutes to cook, or until they're golden brown and crispy on the outside and have an internal temperature of 145 degrees F. Just keep frying these in batches, and no worries about the ones that are finished and set to the side. They'll stay plenty warm while we're cooking. And then when they're done, I set them to the side on a rack to drain off any excess oil, or just on paper towels is fine. And so close to getting to probably one of the most important aspects of the dish. But first, the leftover frying oil. There's a lot left, and you can check out how I preserve my fryer oil for more cooking in my lomo saltado video, which I'll link in the top right corner. Okay, back to the lumpia real quick, and let's crack one open. Yes. However, these aren't nearly complete without the dipping sauce. It is a must. Now, the most classical of options is going to be a sweet chili sauce, which you can buy, or let me quickly show you how I make it. I know I'm extra, but I promise you can absolutely do this. Peel and finely grate a half of a medium-sized carrot, which will get you about a 1/4 cup into a small pot. Then peel and finely grate in about 2 tablespoons of a fresh turnip, and then finally grate in 2 garlic cloves. Pour in a 1/2 cup of white vinegar, 3/4 cup of water, 3/4 cup of sugar, 1 teaspoon of red pepper flakes, and 2 to 3 tablespoons of chili paste, also known as sambal. It's going on a burner over high heat to bring it to a boil to completely dissolve the sugar. Now for that nice thick consistency, in a separate bowl, mix together 1 tablespoon of cornstarch with 1 tablespoon of water. Pour into the pot and watch it immediately thicken up. Perfection. Chill it and use it, and yeah, it's way better than the bottled stuff. Now the other awesome classic sauce to use is banana ketchup. Either sweet or spicy, or hey, why not both? Whatever sauce you go with, they just make the lumpia better and take it to another level. And now we've got to eat them, so let's plate them up. I like to stack them high and serve them next to that homemade sweet chili sauce. And seriously. And these things are dangerously good. There's no way you can eat just one of them. Trust me, it's impossible. And if you're looking for more of those big, bold, Filipino comforting flavors, I've got a great recipe video for pancit. See you over there. It's just, the crunch, the sauce. Whoa.